And today, Matt, thank you so much. We are speaking with Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, great to have you with us on this Friday, and happy Friday to you and to your family.
You too, Abigail.
Where has the volatility gone? Because it seems to me that there's quite a few factors out there that could create tremendous uncertainty, from the Fed to geopolitical tensions, not to mention the fact that a new administration is coming into town in just a couple of weeks, and yet we have this VIX below 16.
You know, it was very interesting. Earlier in the week, we saw elevated VIX, and it was almost in preparation just for NVIDIA earnings. And in fact, the VIX got to levels, and what we saw expected move in the S&Ps and the overall market was actually greater ahead of NVIDIA earnings than what is projected for ahead of the Fed next month. So, you know, after those earnings came out, it was kind of a sigh of relief for the overall market. And that's why we're seeing it so subdued, sub 16 right now. I don't think it's going to last down here. I don't think it should last because, as you mentioned, there's so many things coming at the market. Yes, we have a holiday next week. So, you know, typically we may see some lighter trading. But with all of these things that you talked about, to me, these VIX levels are way too low. And you know what? There's been some upside call buying right here. In talking to some of the traders here,
right.
I don't know if it's 50 cents, but lots of January upside, 30, 50 call spreads. Today, there was some really big December upside options being bought. So I think people are looking at this and say, maybe the VIX is too low here.
Our old friend 50 Cent, who, not to be confused with the rapper, but an unknown option buyer who buys around that level. Actually, why is he called 50 Cent, Scott? Is it because he typically buys 50 cent cost contracts?
That's exactly right. But the reason I said it's probably not him is because typically he will just buy a naked option right around 50 cents. This happened to be a spread, the 30, 50 call spread.
But why are you then making the distinction that you don't think it's, like, what about the trade reminds you of it? Because it's sort of close to 50 cent?
Exactly. It traded around 35 to 40 cents or so.
Yep.
So I was just bringing that up because this happened to be a spread where 50 cent will typically come in and just buy a naked option, whatever strike it is.
Okay, well, there's many 50 cent copiers out there. And I wonder what the Fed would think about NVIDIA being more important than they are. It's not generally that way. But on the other hand, with NVIDIA being about 25% of the S&P 500's roughly 25% year-to-date move, it does make some sense. So these vol buyers, they're doing so for January, preparing for ahead of the administration. Or are there any other macro events, or is it just too far too fast? It's time for this market to cool off, Scott.
I do think it's too far too fast. You know, January from a market perspective, still 2 months away, but a lot can happen, right? We have the Fed meeting, we have rates. We don't know where they're going. This 450 level in the 10-year, if we break that to the upside, how is the market going to react to that? In the past, it hasn't really reacted very well. And then, yes, with the new administration coming in and some of the proposed changes, the tariffs, et cetera, I think people are just kind of, getting ready for that. And as we said, VIX is pretty low right now. Right where we're trading, Abigail, we've talked about this before.
Yep.
A VIX of 16 is equivalent to about a 1% daily move in the S&Ps. We're seeing that for the most part. So, this 16 or higher is warranted.
So in about 30 to 45 seconds, Scott, what else are you hearing down there on the floor of CBOE? I know you're in that VIX pit. There's got to be some pretty good banter outside of some of those call trades you already talked about.
Absolutely. And what I'm hearing is buy this protection when you can and not when you have to. I mean, traders like to do that, and this is the time to do that. I think everyone is still, kind of leaning moderately bullish to the upside, whether these animal spirits that we're seeing in Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related stocks are going to die down or not. Overall, with the health of the economy and earnings being okay, earnings weren't, blowout on the upside, but they were okay. I think a lot of people are thinking we can move higher, but they want to have that protection just in case.
Makes sense to have some hedging when you've got such big rallies in Bitcoin. My gosh, that parabolic uptrend, well, that will at some point reverse, although it looks like it's going to get above 100K first. Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy out there in Chicago. Thanks so much for joining us for Options Insight. Matt, back to you.